Okay, I know you think this title is clickbait, and I know that I'm going to get a lot of hate for this title because I'm saying that I actually am going to start selling my Bitcoin. But the truth is that I've been thinking about it for a while. It's something I've been talking about for a while. And now when I look at Bitcoin at 120, I kind of think to myself, maybe a lot of the cycle returns are actually already in. So I've been sitting on the fence for quite a while saying, is it time to actually start exiting Bitcoin for the cycle? And then what happened was I watched a video this morning from a channel that I really love. It's a channel that I really love and respect. It's called 𝗙𝗓𝗪𝗪. The guy's name is Emil. And I watched this video today where he said, yes, stupid, it's time to sell your Bitcoin. And the truth is that once I watched that video, I was sitting on the fence before, and afterwards I was like, you know what? It's actually time to start selling Bitcoin. Now, the truth is, I'm not selling Bitcoin because I'm bearish. In fact, I'm selling Bitcoin because I'm bullish. I'm going to show you exactly why I'm selling my Bitcoin. And I'm going to show you also exactly when I'm selling my Bitcoin, because it's not something that I'm going to do today. There's a specific trigger point that is going to make me sell my Bitcoin at a certain point, and that's going to bring me much more returns. So I'm going to break it all down in this video. I'm very excited to be here on this channel. It's one of our new channels. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, this would be an amazing time to subscribe. It's called the 100x Club. I see there's 22,000 subscribers, so you can go subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And I promise you I'm going to bring you an amazing show here today, and I'm going to bring you amazing shows here many other days. So if you haven't subscribed yet, this is a great time to subscribe, and let's get this show on the road, guys. So as I was saying, when I was sitting on the fence around thinking about selling my Bitcoin, then I watched this show from a friend of mine, Emil, who has a channel. The channel's called 𝗙𝗓𝗪𝗪. There is also a link to Emil's channel over here. You can see that there's a link over here to Emil's channel. He is one of my go-to sources in crypto. That's where I watch a lot of content, and he's one of my favorite content creators. And he made a show. And in the show, he basically said, is it time to actually start selling Bitcoin? And I was like, is it time to start selling Bitcoin? What a strange show to make. But then when I listened to his thesis, it was pretty much very similar to a thought that I'd been having for a while. And sometimes in life, what you need is you need to have a thesis. It needs to simmer inside your head. And then when somebody else validates that thesis with different data to the data that you have, then you kind of say, okay, hold on a second. That's exactly the thesis that I actually want, that is probably going to play out. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. And spoiler alert, this is not a bearish video. If anything, it's a very bullish video. And as I said, we're doing it on our new channel. It's called the 100x Club. 𝗬𝗬𝗪 always does shows on this 100x Club, but it is part of the Banter fam. So if you haven't already subscribed, go subscribe. And if you have subscribed, why don't you smash the like button, obliterate the like button here, because that will tell people that there is a new channel and that we are coming to you guys live and that we are bringing you amazing crypto alpha. And I think today is going to be just that. It's going to be amazing crypto alpha. So let me actually get some slides up and actually show you the thesis. Let me actually break down the thesis as to why I think it may be time to actually start exiting Bitcoin in this cycle. So, I mean, look, let's first call a spade a spade. I think we've had an incredible cycle on Bitcoin. If you take Bitcoin from where we came from, the cycle lows around $15,000, and you look at where we are today, right now we're at $118,000. Bitcoin's done 700% the cycle. Bitcoin, this massive asset, has done 700% already the cycle, right? And as if that's not enough, that's been powered by what you could only say were events that probably you could never ever imagine for Bitcoin if you hadn't been here for a long time. For example, we've got an ETF approved. Not only do we have an ETF approved, but it's the best ETF in ETF history. It's BlackRock's most profitable ETF. The ETFs combined have a combined net asset value of $151 billion. It's the fastest growing ETF in history. I mean, you got to say that that's been an amazing cycle for Bitcoin. And if that wasn't enough, you've also got the treasury companies, right? You've got MicroStrategy, who started off this playbook. They've got $72 billion worth of Bitcoin, which actually equates to about just under 50% of what all the ETFs have combined. I mean, I know that that's a crazy stat. And that's now given rise to a playbook of all these ETF company or all these treasury companies actually buying tons and tons of Bitcoin and putting it on their balance sheets, right? And you can see that. You can even see that in this cohort, Trump Media Group actually owns 18,000 Bitcoin and is like number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the 5th biggest Bitcoin treasury company in the market, believe it or not. And so I think we've got to acknowledge that even if the cycle had to end here, like, that you always say, like, even if everything had to end right here, right now, I would say that this would have been an incredible cycle, right? I mean, you've literally got ETFs and treasury companies. Just look at that. 7% of the total Bitcoin supply is held by ETFs. And in terms of public companies, another 4.5% is held by them. So you could say that 11.5% of the total Bitcoin supply is held by ETFs and public companies, which were pretty much introduced to Bitcoin this cycle, right? So I'd say we've had like an incredible cycle in Bitcoin. But when you're buying an asset, like whenever you're buying an asset and you're making an investment decision, when you make the investment decision, you always say to yourself, look, I'm going to buy the asset today. And then the question is, who's going to buy the asset from me at a higher price later on in a point of time? That's pretty much any asset that you buy. When you buy a venture capital asset, what you say is, I'm going to invest early. And then who's going to buy it from me? Well, the institutions and retail are going to buy it from me, right? So any asset, whenever you make an investment purchase decision, you always want to say to yourself, well, who is the next buyer and how will they value it and how much are they going to pay? And the truth is that when you look at Bitcoin right now, you kind of say to yourself, look, like retail has already bought. Institutions, well, they've already bought $155 billion. I mean, even Donald Trump's company has pretty much already bought a lot of Bitcoin. Like that's a lot of Bitcoin. That's a lot of buyers out there. Now, the question is, who's the next buyer? Who's the marginal buyer that's actually going to buy the Bitcoin from these people to actually get the price up? And I mean, what you could say is you could say, well, it's probably going to be countries. And I don't think that we're very far away from sovereign nations actually starting to buy Bitcoin. So I do think that actually there is a lot of upside in Bitcoin. I think there's a ton of upside in Bitcoin. But I'm also cognizant of the fact that we are now nearing the end of this 4-year cycle, right? So like if you look at Bitcoin and you look at the Bitcoin cycles, the first one peaked in December 2017, which was the end of the halving year. The second one peaked in November 2021, which was the year after the election year, after the halving year. And if the 4-year cycle perpetuates, then effectively what we know is that there's probably 3, 4, maybe 5 months in the cycle left. And what we also know about the returns in the cycle is that Bitcoin has the biggest returns before it breaks the previous all-time high. So if you take the Bitcoin chart and you say, let's get on to a weekly, because I think that's where it becomes a thing. If you look at when it breaks the all-time high, and you look at the returns that Bitcoin has after it hits the all-time high, the majority of the cycle returns in both cycles, or in the last cycle specifically, have come specifically after the majority have come before Bitcoin breaks the all-time high. Now, we've already broken Bitcoin's previous all-time high, and we're actually 63% above that. So the question then is, well, how much more mindset or how much more upside is there actually for Bitcoin in the cycle, right? Relative to what actually happens to the altcoins, right? So if you look at the altcoins, you could say, hold on a second. When Bitcoin broke the all-time high last time, Bitcoin did 1,439%. But from that point, altcoins did 17,000%. Here, when Bitcoin broke the all-time high, from that point, Bitcoin did 229%, but the altcoins did 720%. So what you can see immediately here is that there's at a certain point in the cycle, there are better places to put your money than to leave your money into Bitcoin. And spoiler alert, that those places aren't necessarily always to put the money into altcoins. And I'll show you that in a second. So what we also see is that the mind shift, the buyers, the marginal buyers that were originally coming in only for Bitcoin. Well, right now there's a new kid on the block, and the new kid on the block is actually Ethereum and the altcoins, right? These buyers from Wall Street who have been driving up our Bitcoin price have actually now like pivoted their focus. And now what they're looking at is they're looking at ETH. And I actually want to show you something here. So if you look at the ratio of Bitcoin returns to ETH returns, so you can see like if you look at the ETF returns, yes, Bitcoin's had amazing returns, but if you compare it to the ETH returns, which is the returns that you get, like the inflows on ETH that you're getting here, these are exceptional returns. What is that basically saying to us? It's saying to us that the shift in the cycle, that the mind shift, the share of voice has now moved specifically from Bitcoin to ETH. And you can see it when you look at things like SBET, which is the ETH treasury company. You can see it when you look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, right? The Bitcoin dominance chart shows you the Bitcoin, how dominant Bitcoin is in the cycle. And if you look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, the Bitcoin dominance chart has pretty much been falling very much off a cliff. So what we can summarize is that it's pretty much time in the cycle where the cycle is fulfilling the same strategy or perpetuating the same strategy as all the previous cycles. The majority of the Bitcoin returns have already been realized in the cycle. And now the majority of the returns are actually going to be found somewhere else. Some are going to be found in ETH, some are going to be found in large cap alts, some are going to be found in other alts. And so the truth is, if you're here to make money, then you should actually be doing whatever you can to maximize or to get to a point where you're making the maximum return. And not only the maximum return, but the maximum return with a certain level of risk. So you always measure risk and return at the same time. Now, where do you get the maximum returns in a cycle like this? Where do you get the maximum return in this part of the cycle? So obviously option number one is you can just start going into altcoins. But the problem is when you go into altcoins, you're also increasing your risk profile, right? That said though, we do know that towards the end of the cycle, if the cycle perpetuates itself, the altcoins actually start giving you much better returns, right? Like we know that that's what's going to happen. And so what I'm doing, and the decision that I've taken is that this cycle I am actually going to chase the money, but I want to do it very responsibly. And the reason why I say I want to do it very responsibly is because it's a trap. Someone in the chat actually said it. He said, this is a trap. So the reason why it is a trap is because the cycle wants you to cash out of your Bitcoin into altcoins. And then when you do, that's when the crash actually lands up happening. So if you're going to shift out from your safe asset into more speculative assets, you have to do it very cautiously, and you got to do it very responsibly. The last thing that you want to do is to take your stash of a Bitcoin or however many Bitcoins that you have, and to start putting it all into altcoins, and then get caught by the collapse, and then at the end of it have no Bitcoin. So you've got to be super cautious and practice huge risk management if you're actually going to do it. Also, it's not only about going into altcoins, and I'll show you one or two strategies specifically from Emil, who's DGen Investor or DGen Investor, and he'll show you pretty much what he's thinking, right? But the reality is, what we're going to do is we're going to start following this trend, this Bitcoin, Ethereum, large cap. So we're not going to do it immediately. We're not going to do it today because I'm going to show you towards the end of the video exactly when the right time to do it is. And spoiler alert, today is not the right time. In fact, today is very much the wrong time to be doing this. Not the right time. It's the wrong time to be doing this today. So let's talk about, first of all, just a reminder before we get there. Remember that a lot of shows are going to be on this new channel. So I need you guys to subscribe to the new channel. I'll wait while you guys subscribe. I see there's like 700 people here. Let's get the numbers up. Let's subscribe. Go. I can see you guys doing it. You're doing it very well. Someone says DCA safely. Someone says it's not about DCAing. I'll show you exactly when we're going to do it. It's not about DCAing. All right, so let's talk about the different kinds of strategies. So the first strategy is to move down the risk curve. So when I say move down the risk curve, you've been in Bitcoin, now start moving into Ethereum, move into large cap alts, move into the small cap alts. That's one strategy. There is another strategy. I want you to listen to this. I'm not saying you should do it. It's a very DGen strategy. It comes from DGen Investor. Remember, there's a link below to his channel. This is one of my go-to channels when I'm listening to podcasts in the morning. That's one of my go-to channels. I want you to hear a strategy, what he's doing, and one of the strategies that he's actually applying. And we actually talk about that before we actually talk about the strategy that I'm applying. I have to unmute the site. Hold on. Sorry. This is a fail-safe thing, so I don't, there we go. And to start putting it all into altcoins, and then get caught by the collapse. Let's pause. Okay, so let me play to you what DJ Investor actually, let's play that.
Like, I'm just telling you here what I'm doing. You have to come up with your own ideas, but this hopefully helps you make up your own mind of what you should do with your own money. But I'm selling some Bitcoin, putting some into Tesla stock, paying off some debt, and the other safe thing that I'm rotating into, these are like yield strategies that I've talked about a lot, significantly on stream, but because of all the leverage going on. If I haven't said
it before, I'm saying it again. This guy is one of my favorite streamers out there. Really one of the places where I get a lot of alpha. So if you haven't already subscribed to this channel and to his channel, go and do that.
Right now, say we go to something like Hyperliquid, the open interest, the funding that you can get on like Filecoin, for example, right now is 80% funding for the perp leverage for the. So what exactly does that mean? It's basically meaning people are paying 70% APY to go long Filecoin. So they're borrowing at 70% APY to long Filecoin. You can capture this 70% basically risk-free by shorting Filecoin. How do you make it risk-free? You take some of those profits. So say you sold $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, you buy $500, or you buy, let's say you buy $1,000 worth of Filecoin spot, put it in your wallet on Hyperliquid, and then you use your collateral to go like 10x short Hyperliquid or 5x short. I think the max is what? No, it is 10x on Filecoin. So you can just short it 10x on Hyperliquid, and then no matter which way the price goes, you're like hedged, because if Filecoin goes up, your short loses money, but the Filecoin spot that you have gains money by the same amount. So you can't actually lose money, and you're just capturing that yield. So that's 70% APY. Do we think that Bitcoin's going to perform that well? Is it going to go up 70% in the next year? Maybe, maybe not. This is basically risk-free.
So you see what he's saying? He's kind of saying, look, let's look at the potential returns that Bitcoin's got. Do you think that Bitcoin in the next year is going to go up 70%? It's possible. But you can lock in those kind of returns by just buying spot and shorting the perpetual. So what you're looking for is you're looking for tokens that have very high funding to go long, right? And you can actually get that if you go to, it's quite simple. You can go to CoinGlass funding heat map. Here, let me just go here and you can see it here. So CoinGlass funding heat map, you go to this over here. This shows you the tokens that have high funding. High funding would pretty much be yellow. So you could go here. You could also go to CoinGlass liquidate. Let's just see it. Funding rates. There we go. So you can go to CoinGlass /funding rates, and you can look for tokens that have very high funding rate on the 1 year. So he mentioned Filecoin. Probably if you go to Hyperliquid, you can actually see this better on Hyperliquid. But what he's doing is he's locking in yield without actually taking token risk. Because if you long spot and you short the perpetual, you're just earning the funding, basically. And when the price moves, you're risk neutral. That's one of the strategies that you can get. And that strategy can yield you between 40 and 70% right now. And that's probably more money than Bitcoin's going to be able to yield you. The second thing that you can do is what I actually mentioned, and probably what I'm going to be doing, because I don't have really time to trade funding rates and perps rates and stuff like that. And that is to just responsibly, I'm saying this again, responsibly move down the risk curve. And for that, what you got to do is you got to make an assumption. And your assumption is got to say, look, I now believe that ETH is going to move faster than Bitcoin. And Sol is going to move after ETH, and you can see already Sol's moving. You can see it's moving at $204 already, which is playing out exactly like we predicted. But what you can see is that we probably will follow this. Now, to be honest, if I was rotating my Bitcoin, I would never go into the small cap alts, ever. Like, that's not the game that I'll be playing with my Bitcoin. But to go from Bitcoin to potentially ETH, and from ETH potentially to Solana and the Solana big caps, that might be a strategy, providing that, number one, you do it with a very small portion of your Bitcoin. Number two, you do it very responsibly. Number three, you exit well in advance, and you keep money on the table. And I'm saying this to you as someone who's done this before. The last thing that you want is to lose your Bitcoin because you went down the risk curve and got greedy. So if you've got that thesis, start moving down the risk curve. And then you ask yourself, okay, well, what am I going to move into? Well, you can move into Sol. You can see Solana's just started its run. If you've got a little bit more guts, you can move into some of the Sol plays like 𝗁𝗁𝗏. This is one that we're very, very, very bullish on. You can move into 𝘁𝗵𝗶 or 𝘁𝗵𝗏, for example. Like you can see 𝘁𝗵𝗶 or 𝘁𝗵𝗏 haven't had like the best run yet. But you know that when alt season comes, these will go. Now, the truth is I wouldn't go lower than that. And specifically, I wouldn't go lower than that using my Bitcoin money. I'd never go into meme coins from Bitcoin because you're drastically changing the risk profile of your portfolio. But if you do believe that we're going into an alt season, and you do believe that we're going into slightly more liquidity, and you do believe that you have the conviction and the self, when you have your, the self-control to be able to get out of the casino on time, then this might actually be quite a good strategy at this part of the thing. And then, I mean, again, it depends. I'm going to go a little bit into Drift, a little bit into 𝗁𝗁𝗏. I'm going into all the Solana proxies. Another one which I'm actually going into is I'm going to go into Pump Fund. And the reason why I'm going into Pump Fund is because I think that a lot of people are getting flushed out now. Like when you look at the wallets that actually bought the Pump Fund ICO, a lot of, not the ICO, not the retail ICO, but the institutional one, a lot of the wallets have actually sold out, right? So anyway, that is effectively what I would be doing. Now the big question is, when do you do it? Do you do it absolutely today? The answer is absolutely not. You're not going to do it today. And I'm going to show you the rationale of why you're not going to do it today, and why the best time to do it may be right around the corner. And 𝗁𝗏 here has in the chat has actually hit it a nail on the head. But guys, again, before we get into the right time to do it, I'm waiting for you guys to subscribe. I'll tell you exactly when to do it. When this counter hits 22,500, you can do it, guys. It's in your hands. When this counter hits 22,500, that is when I'm going to reveal to you exactly when to make the switch. Until then, I'm going to get a glass of water. We're nearly there. We're nearly there. All right, I'll be back. I'll be back. When it's at 22,500, will you come fetch me from my office? Okay, you do that. You come fetch me. How are we going here? How are we going here? How are we going here? What? You called me for nothing. You pretty much called me for nothing. All right, guys, you're going to subscribe. I'm going to tell you exactly when we're going to execute this. So a lot of this is about the timing, right? Because if you execute it now, you're executing in a period of FOMO. And the reason why I say you're executing in a period of FOMO is because if you look at the altcoins, that's what the last 1 month looks like on altcoins, right? So right now, everybody wants to be in altcoins, right? In fact, we've had such a crazy run on the altcoins. Look at this total two chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. In the last 2 weeks, it's had 2 red days, and it's pretty much gone parabolic. This is not a chart that you'll end up buying. If you look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, look what happened in the last 14 days. This is a chart that tells you that it's going to bounce up. If you want more proof that it's going to bounce up, look at the RSIs on total 2. Look at the RSIs on total 2. Look at this here. They are so overheated. This thing has to come down. Look at the RSIs on Bitcoin dominance. They're the lowest that they've ever been. The last time that the RSIs on Bitcoin dominance were this low was May 2021. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. The last time that the RSIs were this low was May 2021 on Bitcoin dominance. There's definitely going to be a correction in Bitcoin dominance. What does that mean? Well, in simple English, it means this market is about to correct. Okay, you heard that correctly. In simple English, this market is about to correct. Might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, it might not be in a week. But what I guarantee you is that this Bitcoin dominance is going to go for a bounce. Okay, this Bitcoin dominance is going to bounce. So now, the question is, when should you do your switch between Bitcoin and the altcoins? Well, the truth is, you want to get the maximum amount of altcoins for every Bitcoin that you trade, right? And that's not happening right now because Bitcoin to the altcoin pairs is actually weak. I'll show it to you right now in this chart over here. So if you look at the ETH BTC chart, this ETH BTC chart, you see, you're not getting a lot of ETH for one Bitcoin, right? You want to wait for it to go over here. And that's when you're getting a lot of ETH for one Bitcoin. And so what you're going to do is you're going to sit on your hands and you're going to sit on your hands and you're going to sit on your hands. And you're going to wait for this correction, which is about to happen. And when the correction happens and the Bitcoin dominance spikes up slightly, that is when you execute, providing that you believe that the rest of the cycle is going to play out like the previous cycle. If that's what you believe, that is when you actually land up doing that. Okay. Now, what could cause the crash? Who cares? There's a lot of I'm telling you, I'm looking at the charts. The charts are telling me there's going to be a crash. Not a crash, a little correction. Sorry, I use the word crash loosely. There's going to be a correction. So the question is, what's going to cause it? I don't really care. One of the things that could cause it is this, like Powell, there's a lot of pressure on Powell now. Markets like stability as much as all the crypto bros tell you it's Powell. Something could happen and Powell, now there's criminal charges against him. This could cause it. If it's not this, it will be something else. There will be something that's actually going to spark a correction. I promise you that. When that happens, that is when you pounce. That is when you swap your Bitcoin for your altcoins, because that is when Bitcoin is not going to correct as much as the altcoins. And that is when you're going to get the most value. And then hopefully we continue in the upward cycle. And when we correct, we get into a rampant altcoin phase. And that's when it all plays out. When the correction happens, don't be panicked. Because remember that in the last part of the cycles, corrections are very, 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 very normal. I wish you guys were around for 2017 and you could have experienced some of the 40% corrections in Bitcoin. They were brutal. In fact, I can tell you, let me show you. My son's birthday. I got to show you this because it's the craziest thing you've ever seen. My son is born on the 15th of September, 2017. Okay? 15th of September, 2017 is when my son was born. I want to show you the 15th of September, 2017. Okay? I have to take you there. Because unless you were sitting in that hospital, hold on, it's here. Hold on, I've got to find it for you. Yeah. Okay, that is the crash. So Bitcoin went from $629. No, it wasn't that. It wasn't there. There was a correction around that point. Yeah, here it is. Okay, 2017. Here we go. That makes more sense. Let me go to 2017 and let me go to September 2017. That makes a lot more sense. Yeah. Okay. Second, there we go. Okay, here's the crash. It's there. Okay. That is the day my son was born. And I was sitting in the hospital and I was waiting for my son. Yeah, it's this candle which actually landed up green. So I was sitting in the hospital. My wife was in labor and I was looking at the charts going down in one day. Okay, one candle in one day. Look at that. One candle, one day, 22%. My wife thought I was watching the charts of her heart rate and her blood pressure. I was watching the Bitcoin charts. Both charts, I want to say, were making higher highs, okay? Or lower lows. I don't know, whatever it was, okay? But I can tell you that there's going to be many corrections. Now, the good thing is, for those people here who are here in this cycle, is that the corrections are getting much weaker. Like the average correction in 2017, 35%. In 2025, it's only 23%. So yeah, we're going to get a correction. Maybe the correction will be 10%, maybe 5%, maybe 15%. Who cares? When that happens, that's when you pounce. Okay, now, when you pounce, you swap your Bitcoin for the top altcoins. You do it very, very, very responsibly. And then you just wait for the cycle to perpetuate itself. And you put in place stop losses and everything else to mitigate your risk. Anyway, so that's what I wanted to show you today. Again, I'm not selling because I'm bearish. In fact, if anything, I'm more bullish than I've ever been. I just think that towards the end of the cycle, there may be better opportunities. And if there are better opportunities, well, then I want to capture those better opportunities because I'm here to make money and I'm here to build wealth, but I'm also here to keep wealth. So I've got to make sure that I practice good risk management. All right, just before we go, a couple of things. Number one, let's look at the bubbles. We haven't looked at the bubbles. I just want to catch up with you guys and just see the bubbles. I see a whole new family here, but I see some of the old guys. Nick Gaston's here, 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗀, I see Richard Evans is here. Okay, today on the bubbles, not much going on. It's actually like quite a blah day, like a terrible day, terrible day. On a terrible day like this, all I can say to you guys is if you want, like there's a crazy trading offer. It's the best trading offer I've ever seen in crypto. Literally, you go to this exchange, it's called BTCC. It's a great exchange. That's what it looks like. I trade in it very, very, very regularly. It's got all the pairs. It's got zero KYC, no KYC, zero KYC, which means anybody from anywhere in the world can sign up to it, right? And whatever you deposit, they give you a 10% deposit bonus, up to $10,000. Which means that if you deposit $1,000, then you get 10% deposit bonus. Then you can withdraw the $1,000 and you keep the rest and you can trade the rest. It's like a no-brainer, okay? If you want to take advantage of that while they're still doing it, because they're not going to do it for long, it is over here, right here. You see this? To get a 10% deposit bonus, that's where you want to be. Also, I'm reminding you again, so at least once a week, I'm going to be on this channel. Sheldon's going to be here, Kyle's going to be here, Dylan's going to be here. We're all going to be on this channel. We're going to be giving you crypto love and crypto wisdom on this channel. You need to subscribe to this channel as quickly as possible to make sure that you don't miss the alpha. Anything else, artists? Do you want to maybe say a few words before we go? Not really. 𝗁𝗓𝗓, would you like to say a few words before we go? Nothing to say. All right, well then we'll see you guys again tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friends.